Welcome to the Wild Hope Rising podcast. We're your hosts, Sunny Kane and Tammy Clotton, and we're so glad you stopped by. We want to help you be wildly you, and believe it or not, you're already her. We invite you to gather around the table with us. We'll help you move through your wilderness season, no matter how you got here. So lean in, let's ignite your purpose, and discover what you're made of. Buckle up, my friend. It's time for Wild Hope. Well, welcome to the podcast. We're so glad to have you here, and we're really excited about this. This is our very first podcast ever, and it's not like Tammy and I have ever had a podcast before. So you are listening to amateurs as we grow into the yes that we are giving God today. My name is Sunny, and I'm here with a good friend of mine.
My name is Tammy, and I'm excited to be here. I'm looking forward to this and learning and growing as we go.
And you'll see in this journey that we're going to call you to do the very same things that Tammy and I are doing. And that is sometimes moving in to the great unknown on a wild adventure where you maybe don't have a map, but what you have is, I am ready for a change in my life. I don't
Yeah.
quite know where I'm headed, but I know it's time. And I just want to say before we even dive in to tell you what this is about, what you're going to hear through Tammy and I's story today of how we got here is, friend, you are right on time. You are not
Yes.
late. You are not behind. You are not, it is your season. And I know we've seen a lot of that through our story, Tammy, of how God brings things together and we're right on time.
Right. Even when we think that we're delayed or not somehow in sync with what he's doing, we keep just showing up and giving our yes. And he is the one guiding and leading us to this spot right now. Even the ladies who are listening, he guided you here today.
Yeah, and we've been praying for you. We've been praying that at the sound of our voice, that God would bring a sisterhood, so to speak, of a community of women, because ultimately, Tammy and I can get a lot of good ideas. But at the end of the day, what we are doing doesn't matter at all if it's not reaching the hearts of women that are in wilderness seasons. And so that's where you come in, my brand new listener. We're so glad to have you here. But we thought what would be helpful today is to help you to get to know Tammy and I just a little bit, and really to tell you where all of this begins. So we're just going to invite you into our story. Tammy and I have known each other for almost, it's been what, Tammy?
Like 15 years, I think.
Okay, so 15 years. And it's very random, but years ago, I felt God prompting me to put out, this is back in the day before Facebook was that big of a deal. And I felt called to put that I was going to have a prayer group on Facebook. And Tammy and I already kind of knew each other, but we weren't really in each other's worlds, but we were Facebook friends. And so
Yep.
we went to the same church in very different seasons, but I put this call out on Facebook of, hey, I was going to start a prayer group in my home. And for the first week, nobody came. And I said to my husband, I guess I didn't hear God. And my husband said to me, well, maybe you heard God, but did he tell you people would come? Or did he just tell you to have a prayer group? Maybe you're supposed to pray. So that was rather convicting. But I continued, I persisted. And then, Tammy, what happened with you there?
Yeah. Well, I was thinking, oh my gosh, there's going to be so many people there because Sunny's popular and people just want to be around Sunny. And so I didn't go the first week because I was like, I don't know if I'm in the mood for a whole bunch of people. And at that time, I was going through some hard stuff and, I needed prayer. But so I went ahead the second week, I think, second or third week, and I showed up and I ended up I think there was one other lady at the time. And
Yeah,
I
one
didn't know.
gal showed up,
Yeah.
and that was just a friend of mine that was like, hey, I'll just cheer you on. How cute you're having a prayer group. I can't join, but I'll come one time for you.
And then Sunny and I did that for quite some time. It
Yep,
was
we
super,
would.
super helpful.
Yeah, and we would walk together. We would go, I had just, I can't remember. I think that I was pregnant or just
You
getting,
had just given birth to Jackson, your
okay.
youngest. Yep.
Yeah, so I had just given birth. So there we were. And so God really began this friendship that you're getting to kind of step in on. And so we've been friends for all of this time. We began our friendship in prayer and we began it with God. And it's so exciting to see what the Lord is now stirring in us. And so we worked together for about 15 years. We ended up, fast forward that prayer season, and we were on staff at the same place. And this was a place of beauty where God really called out my gifts. I'll just speak for myself here. A place where I really discovered the love that I had for God and the gifts that He had placed inside of me. And I was having a place where I had community and belonging and family, really. And as a chick who didn't really have, people in my life prior, it was such a gift. So I
Yeah.
served there for almost 20 years. And this was also a place of not just beauty, but it also became a place of brokenness where a lot of pain came from my life in my last years. And the point of the story is not what happened. And so I'm not really going to go deep into the weeds here. But what I can say is there were some changes in the leadership structure. And as a part of that, it became blaringly obvious that is it blaringly obvious or glaringly obvious?
Or glaringly, whichever, you can choose.
Well, you're going to have a lot of those. If you know me, I love using words wrong. So you're welcome. Blaringly obvious, okay? Glaringly obvious that this would no longer be a place where I could operate in the fullness of my gifts. And I felt a responsibility with that because I was leading a lot of other people at that time. And I feel that I am called to help people step into the fullness of who they are. And so to walk in integrity, I made the decision to lay everything down and enter into a wilderness season. And let me tell you, it was fun.
Yeah, real fun. And for me, I did a very similar thing a few years later. And so I too entered a wilderness season that was family to me. And I tried to stay and work through some things, and it just didn't work for me. And so I had to make a choice to do some self-care in that. And during that season, man, I was grieving and it caused my body to tank. And I really had to wrestle through some of that. And so that was a wilderness season for me. I started creating something new, a nonprofit and everything. So I was doing stuff, but my body was not cooperating. And I was super frustrated with that. And I'm a very team-oriented person. And I came home to work and I was by myself in my own head, and I thrive when I'm helping to build teams and community and all of that kind of thing. And so while I had a team, it was very different than the teams that I have built and led in that other context. And so I really just struggled with not having that partnership of working alongside someone in a really productive, intimate way. And so that was a hard piece of my wilderness season too.
And what's crazy about it is from the outside. So, Tammy and I, once I stepped away from that place before she did, because there was so much pain involved, even though you and I were so close at the time, I distanced myself from you because I could not see through my own pain. And I had so much fear. I wasn't sure who was connected to that pain. And so I pushed Tammy away. And then when I saw you a few years later step into the very same wilderness season, and I knew what you would carry, Tammy. I know what it feels like to step away from a family and things that you love doing. I knew what was landing in your lap. And it's crazy to me that I would come in and come alongside you like, let's get together because I care for you. But then I would also find myself pushing away from you because I had spent so long attempting to get rid of my own bitterness to be
Mhm.
able to continue to see that there was beauty in this place, even though there was brokenness. Could you feel me doing that to you?
Oh, yes, for sure. And that was hard too because we had been close and shared a lot of life together. And so it was super hard because when you pray together, that's a very intimate, you build a very deep bond there. And so, of course, I felt that. And yet I had to let you walk through that process and walk through my own, but I didn't, and at the same time, just know that God wanted to heal this so that we could continue in friendship.
Yeah. So there we were. We've been side by side a lot of years. We've grown in a deep relationship, but what's happening in this season is really funny. When we said to you that you are right on time, we meant it. Like what is we are stepping into we never saw coming. And so
Yep.
if we fast forward, I had gone through my own wilderness. That was actually 7 years since I have left that place. And how many years has it been for you now?
It's almost 3.
Almost 3. Okay. So 3 years into Tammy's wilderness, and we began to start running into each other. Sometimes intentionally, we would go grab coffee, like for one of our birthdays, we'd go grab lunch. But I keep thinking of, I started noticing a pattern in myself when we would run in together is you would ask me how I was doing. I would kind of catch you up on some of the life stuff that was happening. And I would always use this phrase. I kept saying, I feel like God is stirring something in me, but I just feel stuck. That was the
Yeah.
word I was using.
Yeah.
And to give you a picture of what was happening in my life, not only had I walked through that wilderness season from leaving a place that I had known for 20 years where I got to operate in the fullness of my gifts, and then the thing that I was building outside of that, when I stepped into, it all fell apart for whatever reason. God asked me to lay that down. And then fast forward, and some moments happened where our normal was hijacked in our family, and my family walked through some hard things. And all of these led to this long, blurry wilderness season that left me completely out of sorts. Tammy, I feel like in that season for me, I struggled with figuring out who I was. I had my identity wrapped up in my doing so much
Mm.
in that past place. It was so much in just what I poured out for the Lord. And I love that God knows right where we are and he knows who we are. And he took this version of Sunny who was doing the best I knew how to do in connecting to his heart, and he still used me, even though I was coming from still a place of brokenness. But my identity was wrapped up there. And so when you took that away and you moved away the community that I had, and then you walk into more hardship, a stripping of all I've known, I had confusion and cloudiness. I couldn't find vision. It left me needing to go back and deal with some old wounds. I felt a loss of control, disconnected, disillusioned. That was muddy. I was carrying all this when I would come and find you, Tammy, right? This place of safety. And I was having wrestles with who God was and what I thought he was, what he would do with my life, what he would do in my family, what he would do for my children. And when none of that worked out how I thought it would, I just out of sorts is the only word I can use. And I am a visionary, if you know me, and I did not have vision in this season, and that was scary because I couldn't recognize myself. And so no wonder I was saying to you, Tammy, I'm stuck. I am stuck. So catch them up on you alluded to it, your season and how that was in your body, but I'd just love to hear from you now.
Well, the other thing for me too is you need to know that I have been a people helper for 30 plus years. And so for me, serving people and helping them in some kind of way, I've done it through counseling and through mentoring and through coaching and through pastoring and all of that. And so for me, I didn't have this tangible place to do that. And so I did get somewhat depressed because I was really longing for those places that God could use me in that way. And even though I was building something else, it was just different. And so I had to figure out the different. And I know for a lot of people that causes them to doubt God and all of that. But for me, it wasn't really about that. For me, that stayed solid and that was the only solid that I had. But because my body wasn't cooperating, then that's where some of that, and I'm not generally a depressed person. I'm pretty positive. I look for the positive in things. And so for me, that was like, no, this is not me. And so that was a little hard and confusing. And for my husband as well.
Yeah. And so I'm sure for those of you listening, I'm sure that you can hear that Tammy and I seasons looked very different. Our wilderness was for different reasons. And your wilderness might be for a different reason. You might be walking through something in life that has you feeling held back, or it has you stepping into a change, or maybe you already know what the new is, maybe you don't. But what was funny about Tammy and I is we felt so many similar feelings within that. We could describe it the same, though it was different. And that led us to begin connecting a little bit more. We realized, like, wow, we're carrying something similar here. And so it kind of came back to, it reminded me of that old season where we first started praying together. We started praying, and in that, as we were praying, we started talking about what we were seeing in other women in the world. We were like, other women are experiencing these things too, and they need to know they're not alone. You have a room with this giant whiteboard, and we got markers out, and we just had a lot of fun. We're both dreamers, and it was so fun, Tammy, to start getting vision back again. And I don't know what it was for you that day that we started dreaming, but I'd love to hear what kind of began to spark in you that we were supposed to no longer just work side by side, because we've done a lot of side by side work, cheering each
Yep.
other on in our adventures. But suddenly, there was some moment that took place where we started realizing we were now supposed to link and be hand in hand, arm in arm for this next season.
Right. Well, both of us were searching God and just saying, God, what do you want from us? And for years, I've been rumbling with this passage in Second Corinthians chapter 6, verse 11. And I want to go ahead and read that if that's
Yeah.
okay. And it says, Dear Corinthians, I can't tell you how much I long for you to enter this wide open, spacious life. We didn't fence you in. The smallness you feel comes from within you. Your lives aren't small, but you're living them in a small way. I'm speaking as plainly as I can and with great affection. Open up your lives, live openly and expansively. So God just kept saying, open up, get more, stop playing small. And that's not just because it's like, oh, you need to go after the world and make big things happen and all of that kind of thing. It's he knows the condition of our internal world and how much we're guarded and protected like this, and how much he's like, no, come on, let's go on an adventure together. And I am an adventurer. So that does appeal to me. And so, but it's in what context is he talking about that?
It's funny because Tammy, and you're going to hear about this on a future episode, so you got to stay tuned because we got some adventures to tell you about. But at one point, Tammy and I did a Spartan race together, and that was so powerful. In fact, I think our next episode together, we should talk about that. But Tammy started talking about this scripture she just read. And as she was reading this wide open, spacious life, I remember like my jaw dropped to the floor. And it was kind of this holy moment because Psalm 18 is something God has regularly used in my life to talk about reaching down into my story. I think it's Psalm 16, verse 19, that says, He reached down from on high and he drew me out of deep waters. He led me to a spacious place and he rescued me because he delights in me. I probably botched that a little bit, but it was on that spacious place. And what is so funny is my spacious place that God had, it was kind of an aha for me because here I was, and by looks from the external, my life had gotten a lot smaller. Okay. I used to run a women's conference. I pastored at a church and I got to teach on weekends. And so it was very much more visible, I should say. And that wilderness that we talked about that I was walking through, it led me personally, like I was bucking against the system because I felt called to help other people make an impact. And it used to feel so big and so visible. But I had in this wilderness moved more to a place where it felt more small. But what I realized is what felt smaller was actually more spacious than I knew. I was
Mm.
beginning to live, and it's kind of just coming to me right now. This is a God moment, everybody, So, um, but some of that, me beginning to live openly and expansively, took place in the four walls of my own home, where community had been moved away and the only voice I had was God. And we know that some of you listening are in that season right now where your life feels smaller than it ever did before. And I can tell you right there in that small place, right in those fenced in places, whatever the reason is that you are there, God can take that and He can cause your wilderness to begin to burst into bloom, is what scripture tells us. He can cause waters to begin to flow out of the driest places of your life. He can take the valley that you are sitting in, not walking through, and He can help you to rise again and to lead you to that spacious life. But it can happen in the smallest place that you can imagine. And so some of this was going on when we were having our whiteboard session. We were like, other women are experiencing this too. We've got to start talking. And then Tammy mentioned a moment ago that she is an adventure girl. So we started praying, like, what would the name be? And what did we want to connect women's heart to? And the word that kept coming up for Tammy and I was hope. Women need hope. After everything we've been through in the world, after the state of the weird post COVID world, the state of our political whatever, plus what God has been doing spiritually in the world, hope was so needed. But that adventure Tammy was talking about, we started getting some language. Like Tammy started talking about compasses and mountains. And I started having an allergic reaction because immediately I thought, oh no, Tammy is going to want to do some outdoor ministry. And I don't do outdoor ministries. Like, get me some bug spray, get me some sunscreen because it ain't happening, Tammy.
Well, and for me, when we started using the language of wilderness and adventure and all of that kind of thing, it just resonated so deeply, not just because I'm an adventurer, but because our spiritual lives are an adventure. And a lot of times we're exploring and navigating and all of that kind of thing. So I'm not big on compasses, but I do know that we need something that guides us, right? Something that's constant. And I actually, and I'll talk about this another time, but I actually have gone on a long backpacking trip and been out in the wilderness, just my sister and I, and is the weirdest thing to just get dropped off and your ride drives away and then you're in the wilderness. And it is fun and exciting and exhilarating. And I know that's terrifying to Sunny.
And
And
let the record reflect, Tammy, this thing, this adventure we're on, I am never going out to be dropped into the wilderness with you. Like everything I'm talking about is a spiritual wilderness. It ain't happening.
we'll see. We'll see. Growth can happen anywhere, right, Sunny?
Right. And
Yeah.
I realize you should never tell God where you will not go. The wilderness is my Africa.
Yeah. But I absolutely know that, spiritual adventures and wildernesses can be, fun and exciting too. They're not just negative. And so
Yeah.
we've been talking about some of the hard ones, but there's also some that are really fun and you say yes to God and you have no idea where it's gonna go, and that's what Sunny and I are doing right now.
Yeah. And I mean, because this adventure we've started together has been fun. And I'm telling you, Tammy and I said yes to this. We randomly, out of all these names, we heard Wild Hope Rising. And we're going to continue to paint the picture of that because while part of it, we knew it landed, we knew it was hope, we knew it was about wilderness. We knew we were talking to wilderness women, and we're not talking about women who don't shave your armpits, although you're welcome here too. And the older I get, the faster my hair grows. So I'm probably one of those women. But we knew it was calling women to rise. And
Yeah.
while we have a glimpse of what we believe God has called us to, we knew this picture couldn't become complete until we began to have people like you who are listening that came along with us into the adventure, into the wide open spacious life. And one thing we want to get you to know right off the I just said it again.
That.
Not back, right off your back. Right off your back, right off the bat, is we want you to know that we are not experts and we are never going to proclaim to be. We are guides. We are women who have been there, hopefully just by some of what we've shared today. And we have other wilderness seasons that we haven't even talked about yet. We just can say we've earned some street cred in the wilderness. We know what it feels like. And when I was in my wilderness season, I kept looking for podcasts, books, something to help me. And I could not find voices that I felt like could relate, that were speaking my language of what I was walking through. And so I want to reach back to the women that are in there looking for something. We want to be that. But what we also don't know is, Tammy, we don't have a full vision on this yet. God is actively, currently developing it, right? Which is a little scary.
True. That's true. And we have some hopes and dreams just because we know what God has put in us as far as gift mix and all that kind of thing, and I wanna speak to that. Like, Sunny and I are quite different, and you'll see that. And so one of the exciting things for me has been that we complement one another. And where Sunny is really strong, I might not be as strong, and where I'm really strong, she might not be. And so we balance each other out and we really complement one another. And the other thing that I was just telling someone the other day is there's no competition. We want each other to use our gifts to the fullest, and we just keep stoking each other's fire and just saying, yes, do that more. You're very gifted at that. And we think that women could do a much better job at this, right? Stop the competition, show up more fully as yourself. And we want people to do that. Each of us are individual reflections of our creator. There's no one else like you. You are unique and you are uniquely designed for a purpose. And we want to help you mind that and help you to show up and be more fully you.
Earlier, when we were talking, you talked about how the world needs who
Wow.
these women were created to be. It meant so much to me when you were saying it. So if you'd
Right.
say it to our friend who's listening.
Yeah. So, like I said, there's no one else created like you. The world needs you, your unique gifts, your unique voice, your unique story, everything that you are. No one else can be you, only you. And a lot of times we start thinking like, hey, I want to be like so and so, or I want to do this more. I want to do I wish I had this gift instead of the ones that I have. Well, we're never going to be held responsible for anyone else's gifts, only the ones that have been entrusted to us. And so we need to use the ones that have been entrusted to us. And sometimes we don't even know what that is, and that's okay. We can explore that together. That's the exciting part of this adventure.
And Tammy and I, in this, we're both coaches. I've been coaching in this wilderness season, and Tammy has always been a coach, and you went and pursued that as well. And so we do know that there is an aspect of coaching involved. And while we know coaching is this big thing in culture right now, we also feel like it's the heart of mentorship, of just saying, hey, I've been there before. Let me come alongside you and champion you. And but one thing that keeps coming to my mind as we're going is, as you were talking about these unique gifts in each of us, I also just want to say sometimes we view God as this God who is over the whole universe. If you were just picture him hovering over the surface of the earth, right? But what I also want to say to you is, as unique as you are, you also have a God who loves you, who will meet you individually. He stands right next to you. And I wish right now, wherever you are, whether you're listening to us on the treadmill, whether you are in your car, or whether you're with some girlfriends huddled up, whatever it is, I wish that you would know in this moment that God is urgently present in your story. And he is right there. Yes, he's hovering over the entire earth. And somehow he's also right beside you as an individual. And I believe in this next season, if we would choose to be women who do not step into the hustle, self help culture that the world is selling, will we have to take some steps? Heck yes, we will. Will it be hard? Will it require something of us? Yes. We're not just going to sit around and call you to just wait on God, although waiting is also an active step. But I am talking, we're going to do the work. But if we would choose to surrender to what is happening in this season, if you would choose to help have us come alongside you, maybe to offer you a new perspective of the very wilderness that you are walking through, if you would allow us to link arms with you, and we're going to do that through some group coaching that's coming out. But the biggest thing is, and first I want to tell you what we came up with of who we are. And then I want to tell you about what you can expect from us in our last few minutes here. But we are wilderness guides. That's who we are. We are coaching and mentoring women to rise and step into the wide open, spacious life. We help women discover who they truly are and what they are made of. Because we don't want you to just discover who you are so you can just be all awesome and stuff and get a big old butt and a big old head because you're sitting on it and you're just thinking you're all fabulous. We want you to know you're fabulous so that you begin to walk wildly free, overflowing with radiant hope and ignited by your unique purpose. That is our prayer for you. And we're going to have this happen in our own lives too. That's what we're believing for. But here's what you can expect. Here's what's coming. Our prayer has been there's just been this thought that Tammy and I keep rumbling with, and that is that we wanted to help women to make a fresh sound in the earth. And I don't even fully know what it means. Tammy, as we've been discussing that, what has come to mind for you? What do you feel like the fresh sound is, or what has God been speaking to you about it?
I think for me, and I don't fully understand it yet either because we're just kind of following God's lead on this, but for me, I know that women have been competitive for so long. And so sometimes it's hard to actually be with other women because of that. And I think that God wants us to say enough of that. And we are going to champion one another. We're going to cheer each other on. We are going to encourage you to shine with your unique gifts and just link arms and really help one another to rise and dream and radiate with hope and healing and freedom.
Yeah.
So, those are the things that keep coming to my mind as we talk about it.
And we've also talked about this like a haunting sound. And that sounds really weird. Like they want to haunt us. No, we do not want to haunt you. We're not ghosts. Okay. So don't worry. We don't have some weird theology up in here. But we're talking about the sounds that you get from God, like a fresh sound in your life that is no longer competition. It's not you operating out of your insecurity or what you're afraid of. It's no longer the sounds of the pain that you have walked through. Maybe it happened a long time ago and you have thoughts that rumble through your mind or something somebody spoke over your life that continues to circle in your mind. That sound may have been with you for so long, those voices, not to say we've got voices, but you know what I'm talking about, the sounds that play in our life. We want a sound that is erupting in your life that shifts the atmosphere that you live in internally, and it shifts the atmosphere with which you step into, that you begin to bring to the atmosphere, to the places that God has called you to, whether that be your home, whether that be your workplace, or, wherever it is, the grocery store, I don't care, that you would shift atmospheres because you are directly clear on who God has made you to be, and you have given him your yes, and you are walking in your go. And because we can give him our yes and sit on our butt, but I want you to give him your yes and step into your go. And it's going to be messy together. We're going to have some insecurities bubble up. That's okay. That's the way we get a fresh sound, is by acknowledging what the old sound is. But also, I just keep thinking in that haunting sound that God would sing a new song over your life and that you would believe him. And we know Tammy and I cannot make a fresh sound. We cannot sing the song of heaven in such a powerful way that it would transform your life, because Tammy and I aren't coming in because we want your life to just look good for 5 more minutes and you get yourself a quick boost of dopamine because you felt like you changed for a minute. No, no. We actually are praying for transformation in your life that would bring healing. And that means that some of the sounds we've got to go to, if we're really honest, Tammy and I are not going to be your 10 steps to confidence kind of girls. We are also going to say sometimes you have got to enter into seasons like lament, like grief, like looking at your stuff, both the stuff that happened to you and the patterns you continue in order for a new sound to erupt from your life. We keep saying this: freedom is your story and redemption is your song. That's what we want to begin to have sung over your life. Freedom in all of those places and redemption to be the song of your life. And so we're going to try to do this. We're going to grab a hold of Jesus because we're his girls. We are going to bring you what he is teaching us, but we're also going to try to connect with some women who are in the wild themselves. And we want to bring their voices on to this podcast, as well as we begin to write through our blog, as we show up in social media, and then as we begin to bring workshops for these women. We want to bring hope filled mentorship moments where we are pointing you to a hope that is not found in this world and away from what we will call the hope duds that we try to put our hope in, that we try to find meaning in, but they just fall on the floor. It's a dud. We want to walk you out of those places. We want to give you practical tips. We don't want to just inspire you and have you walk away going, "What do I do?" We want to tell you what to do, not because we're bossy, but because God is showing us an action step. And we might have a little bit of laughter because you know what? I say my words wrong all the time. And so I will either give you something to cry over because we're encountering God or to laugh at. And you have full permission. You don't get to laugh with me. It's okay for you to laugh at me. I,
I
I,
do.
yeah, yeah. I love when people laugh at me. That's a healing story in my life. Another story for another day. But we're going to have fun together, and we just hope you will be a part of it. We hope you will give us the honor of your time, because we
Yeah.
know in today's day and age, pausing to listen to a podcast or watch this on YouTube it's an honor of your time. And we pray that we meet that investment of your time with something that begins to ignite something inside of you that would lead to the changing of your story so that God's story could ripple to the ends of the earth. And really, I have faith that believes that what could happen here and what could happen in you, the person who is listening, could reach the ends of the earth. So as we're closing, Tammy, what final words would you have if we were tapping the heart of a woman who's in the wilderness? Do you have any words for her today?
So the biggest thing that I have to say is you do not have to do this alone. So a lot of times the trick of the enemy of our soul is to get us off by ourselves and make us feel like we are completely alone. And so take that brave step and reach out to one friend, just like Sunny and I did. And just even if you say, hey, you want to have coffee, you want to have lunch, something, maybe you don't have time to do that. Maybe you just need to text back and forth, but just take that brave step and reach out to someone so that you're not doing this alone.
Yes, that is a good word because sometimes we go in our growth, like, let me just start listening to a podcast all by myself. If you're here, would you let us know you're here? Would you follow us on Instagram, not so that we have more followers, but so that we know who you are, or email us. You can find that on our Instagram, but go there and tell us you're listening. Tell us you're with us. Like let us know you're here and invite your friends to join you. Anybody who you know who might be able to benefit in their wilderness season. And I just want to say, if you found us and you're still with us and the idea of faith in God, that's not who you are. You're not even sure if there is a God because maybe your life has been of such that it's hard for you to believe there's a God. I just want you to say you are welcome here. Tammy and I both have a way of, yeah, we're Jesus girls, and that's because we've experienced him. And so we can't deny his existence. But I want you to know that I'm not afraid of you having different beliefs than me. And I know, Tammy, I know you aren't afraid of that.
Not at all.
And so you are welcome at this table in the fullness of who you are with all of your beliefs. And because we want you to have a safe place at our table, we pray you give us a safe place at this table as well to be fully who we are. And God has changed Tammy and I's life. So we're going to bring him to this table. But hang along with us. If you have questions about faith, if you're grappling in your faith, you're in the right place. And we think that we can find the common ground of being women who walk through seasons.
And Sunny, don't we have a free resource on our website as well?
Yes, we do. It is a journal. That is, in fact, it's funny because I'm a major journaler and Tammy, I mean, not so much, right?
Not so much. A different kind. Mine is more pictures and words and all that kind of thing, not just the writing it out. So, yeah.
And I was showing off my journal last week and I said, you just wait. I'll have a new one by next week probably because I journal a lot. But what we know about journaling is it gives you opportunity to have self-awareness a little bit of self-reflection, and it's great to look back on. So this journal that we have with these prompts are to get you to begin to see how you're viewing your wilderness, what is going on. And it is an action to help you get a higher view. So, yes, go to our website, check it out. Again, it's in process and we're so excited about it. But would
The
you
address.
download that? We're wildhoperising.com. Wildhoperising.com. And if you look for us on Instagram, you'll find us the same there. We'll have the links in the show notes. Our next one, we're going to actually talk deep into the wilderness. That's where we'll be for our next episode. And we just thank you again for your time. And we pray that God would show up in your life and show off this week and that you would be aware of his presence.
Thanks for the time.
You're welcome. Buckle up, my friends. It's time for Wild Hope. My prayer is freedom will become your story and redemption your song. Now it's time to take hope-filled action. And if today's episode spoke to you, please don't keep it to yourself. Like, subscribe, and share, and help us grow this community. Thanks for listening to Wild Hope Rising. Until next time, keep stepping boldly into the spacious life you were created for.